You're sitting in total stillness, expecting peace to wash over you like a warm wave. The room is quiet, your body is relaxed, and you have done everything right. But instead of feeling calm, a gripping fear takes over. It's like the ground beneath you is vanishing, and you're free falling into something unknown. You want to stop it, to grab onto something solid, but there is nothing there. What's that fear? It's not about dying, not really. It's something deeper, something much more personal. It's the terror of losing the version of yourself you have always clung to. The one you have spent your entire life believing is you. Meditation can feel so misleading at times. We think it's going to be this tranquil, blissful escape from the chaos of everyday life. And sometimes it is, but other times it's like stepping into a house of mirrors. Except these mirrors don't show you your familiar reflection. They show you what lies underneath, and what you see there can feel unsettling and even frightening. That panic that bubbles up, what's that? It's your ego. It's the part of you that creates the story of who you are, the mask you wear in the world. And when it starts to feel like that mask is slipping, the ego doesn't go quietly. It fights back hard. See, the ego's whole job is to keep you feeling solid, defined, in control. It's like a storyteller that weaves this intricate narrative about your life. I'm this kind of person. I have achieved these things. I have built these relationships. I have owned these possessions. This is who I am. And for the most part, we believe the story. Why wouldn't we? It's familiar, comforting, and it gives us a sense of stability, so we believe it. But when you sit in meditation, that narrative begins to unravel. The stillness starts pulling at the threads, and before you know it, you are staring into the vast unknown. The ego doesn't like that one bit. It resists, and that resistance often shows up as fear. But let's pause here for a moment. That fear you feel, that gripping, suffocating panic, it's not the fear of death. At least not in the way we usually think of death. It's not about the end of your physical body. It's about the end of the identity you have built, the self you have constructed piece by piece over the years. And that's the thing about the ego. It thrives on being in control, on keeping you tethered to this idea that you are your thoughts, your experiences, your achievements. When that idea is threatened, the ego panics. It convinces you that if it dissolves, you will dissolve too. But that's not the truth. The truth is, the you beneath the ego is something infinite, something that can't be destroyed. Now, I know what you are thinking. If the ego is causing all this trouble, why not just get rid of it? But it's not that simple. The ego isn't the enemy. It's like a tool, super useful when you need to navigate the practical world. It helps you function, make decisions, and interact with others. The problem is, we have let the tool become the master. We have mistaken it for our true self. Meditation is about flipping the dynamic, about seeing the ego for what it really is, a construct. It's not who you are. And when you realize that, a whole new kind of freedom opens up. But let's not sugarcoat it. The process of letting go of the ego, or even just loosening its grip, it isn't that easy. It can feel like standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss. The ground beneath you seems to vanish, and you are left with a choice. Do you retreat in fear, or do you surrender? Surrendering is terrifying. It's like stepping into the unknown without a map or a safety net. But here is the thing, that abyss you are so afraid of, what's that? It's not a void. It's not nothingness. It's everything. It's the infinite, boundless essence of who you truly are, and the only way to discover it is to let go. When you do surrender, something remarkable happens. The fear that seemed so overwhelming begins to dissolve. It's replaced by a sense of peace that's hard to put into words. It's not the kind of peace that depends on everything going your way. It's deeper, more enduring. It's the kind of peace that comes from knowing deep down that you are not your thoughts, your emotions, or your circumstances. You are the awareness behind them, and in that awareness, there is nothing to fear. This shift in perspective changes everything. You start to see life and death not as opposites, but as two sides of the same coin. They're part of the same flow, the same eternal rhythm. And when you see that, the fear of death loses its grip. Death stops being this looming shadow, and instead it becomes a transition, a doorway to another aspect of existence. You come to realize that the essence of who you are cannot be destroyed. It's timeless, infinite. And here is the beautiful part. When you let go of the ego, life doesn't lose its meaning. If anything, it becomes richer, more vibrant. Without the ego's constant chatter, its endless judgments and comparisons, you are free to experience life as it is. Every moment feels more alive, more precious. Even the mundane becomes miraculous. A breath, a sunrise, the sound of leaves rustling in the wind. These simple things take on a new depth. You start to see the world not as a collection of separate things, but as a harmonious whole. Everything is connected and you are part of it. That's not to say life becomes perfect. Challenges still arise. Pain and loss are still part of the human experience. But without the ego's narrative, you are able to face those challenges with a sense of acceptance and grace. You understand that every experience, no matter how difficult, is part of the journey. It's all part of the grand tapestry of existence. And in that understanding, there is a kind of peace. Not a passive resignation, but an active engagement with life, rooted in the awareness that you are so much more than your circumstances. So what do we do with the ego? Do we try to get rid of it completely? No. The ego has its role. It's like a helpful assistant. It's there to manage the day-to-day details of life, but it is not the CEO. It's not the one in charge. When you put the ego back in its place, you can use it without being used by it. You can engage with the world authentically without losing sight of the deeper truth of who you are. Living from this place of awareness changes how you relate to everything, to yourself, to others, and to the world around you. You stop clinging to the past or worrying about the future. Instead, you're fully present, fully alive, and in that presence, there is freedom. Freedom to love without conditions, freedom to give without expectations, freedom to be without judgment, freedom to live a life that's true to who you really are. This journey of letting go, of surrendering the ego, isn't a one-time event. It's a practice, a process. There will be moments when the fear creeps back in, moments when the ego tries to reclaim its throne, and that's okay. Each time you face that fear, each time you choose to let go, you are peeling back another layer, getting closer to the essence of who you are. It's a lifelong journey, but it's one worth taking. This journey isn't about losing anything. It's about gaining everything. It's about discovering the boundless, infinite truth of what you have always been. It's about stepping into the fullness of life, embracing the beauty and the mystery of it all. And in the embrace, you find not just freedom, but a deep sense of peace and joy, because the truth is you have never been separate from the infinite. You have never been anything less than the all. And when you realize that, when you truly know it in your heart, there is nothing left to fear.